test? Council meeting for May 3rd to order. First item on our agenda is argument. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. I will call the regular council meeting for May 3rd, 2017 to order. First item on our agenda is confirmation of the agenda. And Councillor Graychuk, do you have any items to?
Nothing got here, Rick.
No? Okay. Councillor Peterson?
I just have some questions with regards to the administrative inquiry responses, Your Worship.
No need to put that down. You just, when it comes up, you.
I can just go on and on and on.
Yes, you can. Councillor Sobel.
And nothing for the agenda, but I do have 2 items under question period, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I have nothing. And administration.
Yes, Your Worship, we have a few amendments. We have an addition under 3.1, introduction of planning developments, new staff member.
Thank you.
Under 13, administrative inquiries, we have 5 inquiries. The first is 13.1, response in regards to investigation on abandoned water line. 13.2, we have town advertising sign. 13.3, Town of Strathmore newspaper advertising.
Right.
13.4, Sustainability Committee water conservation. And 13.5, downtown weed control.
Thank you.
We also have an addition in camera, an item pertaining to a business matter under FOIP section 16. And we have a deletion of item 14.6, item pertaining to a matter under FOIP section 19.
Good. Thank you very much. I will accept a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
I'll move.
We have a motion to accept the agenda as amended. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. First item on our agenda is Mr. Fisher. If you'd like to come forward and do the intros, we would appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm delighted on behalf of the department, I think we're all happy, to welcome Renee Smeltz to our department, the Senior Subdivision Development Officer. Renee. Renee's undergraduate degree was in architecture, and I think it'll be an excellent addition to our department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get Tracy on tonight.
Okay. Welcome, Renee, and we look forward to great things. Werner's been speaking highly of you. And Tracy, did you have anything that you?
An introduction?
Should we do it now?
It's up to you.
We'll do it when the item comes
Okay. First item on our agenda then is delegations, and Mr. Colin Huckstead wishes to talk to us in regards to the composting program.
Yes. We brought in a few props. I bring my work with me. Can I use this table? Thanks
Good
for
evening,
having
sir.
me out tonight. I'm going to try and make this as short as I can because I know we have other stuff to do later on, but H&H Huckstead Enterprises is very excited and honored to have a chance to present an organics proposal to the town council. It is very important for council, management, and residents to know that this proposal will freeze our present waste disposal and recycling costs for the next 6 years. The proposal will not add any extra cost to the existing contract, but the level of service will be raised to its highest level possible. I believe that Huckstead and the town of Strathmore both share a common goal, and that is to be as green as possible. I believe if we work together, our community, Strathmore area, can become leaders in sustainability and strive to reach as close to zero waste as possible. By starting today, in just 6 short years, Strathmore and area will have a sustainable waste recycling facility that other communities will envy to replicate. The future is now, and we must do our part to divert as much recyclable products from landfill as possible. This proposal will be an opportunity for Strathmore to do the right thing and ease our overburdened tax dollars. It is geared towards Strathmore and area possessing a modern recycling facility that is equipped with machinery and can receive, sort, and bale process recycling products right here in Strathmore instead of trucking them to Calgary, Drumheller, and other centers. The trucking causes a huge carbon footprint. With Strathmore having a facility that is equipped with all the necessary machinery, it will provide many recycling advantages that it may never realize unless we act now. This facility will lessen our carbon footprint, be very sustainable, and save tax dollars, and provide more employment opportunities for Strathmore and area residents. In just over 3 years, Huxted, with the help of the town of Strathmore, has achieved many recycling goals. We worked very hard to reach these goals after being given the opportunity to advance the recycling facility. At present, we bale over 44,000 pounds of cardboard each week. Only 3 years earlier, we were trucking this product to Calgary loose. In the last year, we have received over 1 million pounds of shingles that will be recycled and not trucked into Calgary landfill. This product is now going to be reused because Huxted has the ability, and we purchased a grinder that turns this product into a valuable commodity. In 2016, the recycling facility received 4,591 pounds of waste wood products that we were able to grind into a product that is key for processing compost. 3 years earlier, the waste lumber would have gone to landfill. In 2016, our recycling facility composted 4,972 pounds of biosolids into a very earth-friendly and valuable product. I estimate that the town of Strathmore has saved over $100,000 in transportation and disposal fees because Huxted was able to convert the discommissioned lagoon into a Class 1 compost facility, and that was because of this council's forward thinking. In the past winter, very cold periods, the biosolids needed to be transported to Penhold once a week. This takes about 9 hours to thaw the trailer loads before we're able to unload the biosolids. As we now have a Class 1 facility located in the lagoon, we can unload these biosolids every day during cold weather. Each truckload is lined with wood chips prior to being filled with biosolids to stop it from freezing and becoming a solid block. This is just another example of why the partnership is so beneficial for both Huxted and the town. In 2016, the recycling facility received 800,000 pounds of food waste, which in the past has gone to landfill. This would have never been possible without the cooperation between Huxted and the town. We have so many more goals that we will be able to achieve together with forward and positive thinking. As Strathmore continues to grow, our waste will only increase, and it is now that we should be proactive and not reactive. I feel that Huxted has proven that we are committed and dedicated to show that we are driven to achieve our goals, which only truly benefits the community and our company. We are currently working with schools in Strathmore and set up a very user-friendly organics collection system. This was started as a pilot program, and with the help of the schools, we'll be able to cut down their waste incredibly. We also have started a small pilot program with the county where we've placed out an organics bin out there and trying to get county members to participate. By working as partners with our community, Huxted can bring the best and the newest equipment for recycling and helping our community succeed in becoming leaders in sustainability. In this proposal, it sets out both Huxted and the town could work together to build a solid waste and recycling contract and a facility here that other communities will envy. And what I'm proposing is that we try and get the organics out of the garbage. We use this for the schools. This is a regular bag of garbage, and that's the size that they put out, 3 a week. This is when you pull the organics out. It's like 50% of what the garbage is. We're hoping to get up to 30, 40, and up to 50, maybe a little higher. The recyclables that get brought to the recycle yard or the blue carts, that's about 25%. So you can see why we should go with the organics first. And then when we're finished, this is the actual garbage, 16%. And it's just incredible, and we can all work together to get it to this. But that's about all I have for right now, other than last week, I was at one of your workshops, and the mayor and I were talking. We were having a nice visit after it was over, and a developer came up and was talking to the mayor and said that he thought it was a great tool that we'd started, or that the town had started this workshop, and it would help them all out. And while I was standing there, he asked the mayor, "Have you guys started the organics collection, or will you soon be starting it?" And I looked up and I thanked somebody, and how does that happen with me there? And the mayor said, yes, we're working on that. We're looking into it. And I actually said tonight I have a chance to propose that. So I know some of this other stuff is going to be done in camera, but I'm here to field any questions. These are the carts. Each resident will get one of these. If we go through with this, it goes in their kitchen, and this is the size of the container that we'll be offering. And I don't know if there's any questions.
Councillor Sobel.
Not a question, but perhaps a comment if council would allow me. I serve breakfast once a week at one of the local schools in a breakfast program, and this morning at Brentwood, the organics portion that Mr. Huxted was talking about kicked in. It became something that was being used in each of the classrooms. So of course I had my regular garbage can that I usually everything goes into, and then we had a composting bucket that they use for this program. So I just found it amazing. When it was done, the only thing that was in the garbage can was a bag for the apples. That was it, a plastic bag. Wow. Everything else, all the cores, all the stuff that fallen on the floor, the half-eaten muffins, everything else went into the compost. So, I've read studies on this, and I think you're underestimating 50%. I think it's going to be higher of compost material that will be going into. I've seen it as high as 60, 63, 64% in some communities. So I don't know. There's a lot of areas to this. There's a lot of things to think about. But just the fact that this is not going into, our landfills are getting scarcer and scarcer, and more rules. We know that there are more and more rules being placed on our landfills. Anything we can do to get this stuff out, I think it's absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel. Councillor Peterson.
I just want to congratulate you for what you've been able to accomplish, and I don't think you can, as an educator, one of the most unfortunate things is that you can never put a price on early intervention. But people, marginally rationalized people, know that it saves our planet and our people. And so I just don't think that you can put a price on that. And the other thing that I wanted to say when I look at this really impressive document is that the best predictor of future behavior in a community is always past behavior. And I don't know for sure how many years, more than 2 decades, that you've been a provider here. And when I was doing my research prior to coming to tonight's meeting, I was looking at cost comparisons, current cost comparisons and future cost comparisons across the board with 7 of our neighboring communities, and still very proud to live in a community that offers the level of service that you do, but also highly cognizant of the fact that we are able to do that because of you and your family and what you've accomplished. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. The second part that it was a shocking morning for me after the developer came up to the mayor and stated that in front of me. As I was leaving, I ran into our CAO, James, and he had a comment for me. My daughter works for the town. He said, "Your daughter's a superstar." And I was very proud. And then he says, "I'm going to tell you something else." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "I just moved from High River." And I'm here in Strathmore, and our garbage costs are 20% less than High Rivers, and you offer more services. And I walked out there as proud as a peacock. Time well spent to go to a workshop.
Thank you, thank you, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Graychuk.
Thank you, your worship. Not only is it the right thing to do to compost, but could you reiterate what the cost savings would be?
Within the first 3 or 4 years, if we can get this proposal put together, I'm expecting the carts would be paid for. And then every year, probably about $75,000. And I'm going on light numbers. The reason why I didn't go with the 60% is that not everybody will participate as hard or as keen. But with education, we will. But I'm predicting you can probably save close to $75,000 a year. After these carts are paid for, then we would move on to whatever else. If we went to the blue cart or another system, but after the 6 years is complete, then you would be able to, you'd have savings and you'd be able to decide which direction you want to go. But we would have a facility here in town that could accept all the recyclables here. That's our goal.
And not to say when you, and I've watched the neighbors throw the green garbage bags full of grass, and then when the truck comes along and squeezes the grass, it all goes on the street. I mean, there's a big savings there also, and there's a pollution problem and whatnot. So there's many factors that are just so, to me, so exciting that we should be just moving ahead here as quick as we can.
And most of our other communities around here have started this program already. It's not that we're inventing this. Other communities are doing it, and they're successful at it. And we have our own composting facility right here in Strathmore. A lot of them don't have that. So it's another real benefit. And the other good news is I have no compost. They've come in and bought it all up. We have orders waiting for it. I never dreamed that would happen, but it's all gone.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graychuk. And if I might, a personal question. If I was to haul my grass clippings down to the composting area, is there a charge?
No charge, as long as you're a resident here.
And I think what you need to do is let the public know that. Because, pardon me?
We can do that, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm saying that because I was talking with somebody the other day, and they felt that they had to pay to take their grass clippings. Is there any charge for bringing any of that composting material down?
No, there's no charge for trees or tree branches. Anything that's compostable, they can bring it. We actually have our own little organics bin sitting in the yard. I think we've been doing that for maybe 6 months, maybe longer. And it's unbelievable how many people stop by there. They're actually bringing not just their recyclables, now they're bringing their compostables there. And it hasn't been advertised or nothing. We just set it up, and there's people that go right by there. But there's no charge. The only thing we charge for, if you have a bag of garbage you need to get rid of, and you don't want to wait until your garbage pickup, and I believe it's $2 a bag, the same as what you charge for your bag tags.
Okay, thank you. And I agree with that education because I personally believe the citizens today want to do the recycling. They want to do what's healthy for the environment. And if we can get the information out to them, they'll support this.
The grade 4 students are the ones that the schools teach.
Yes.
And we had close to 60 come to the last, well, I think it was 53 came to our last little tour. And we have a PowerPoint upstairs. We break them into 3 groups, but the PowerPoint, when they were all in, I asked a few questions just to see what they knew. And I would dare say that if we had a game of Jeopardy between the adults and them, we wouldn't win. They were talking about leche and everything else, like, and explaining why compost has to be and why, if it's not aerated, why it would turn into what it turns into. And I was in awe.
Good.
But that grade 4 class will go home and teach grandma and grandpa and mom and dad. And when they get to have children, it'll just be a common, normal, like brushing their teeth.
Counselors.
Counselors.
And I'll speak for council, and you can cut me off anytime you want, council. But I really believe council and administration is supportive of this idea. We want to go forward with it, and we just have to find a way to put it all together.
That's awesome. Very glad to hear that.
Councillor Sobel.
Thanks, I agree with that, and I also think that the town is a partner in this, and as a partner, I think we bear some responsibility to perhaps do what we can to get the word out that we have a pretty good composting unit, and that it does take items for compost. So I'm wondering if we could include that information on our water bill, perhaps in a future month that we're lacking information to put on there. I think it would be a great idea to do what we can, and perhaps on the webpage and our Facebook page.
We can get our people to send a list over that, what we're accepting in the organics and stuff too, like the bin that's out there and stuff. But I'm guessing we're probably getting close to a ton a week, just from people bringing stuff in and dropping it off. And that would have gone to landfill. That's $105 that is diverted from landfill, and not only that, it's making compost on the other end of it. It's going in your garden and growing your fruit, vegetables.
No further questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Huckstead.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of the April 19th, 2017 regular council meeting.
So move, your worship.
I have a motion to accept the minutes for April 19th, 2017. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And I'll need a motion to accept the minutes of the public hearing for April 19th, 2017.
So move.
I have a motion to accept the minutes of the public hearing of April 19th, 2017. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Next item on our agenda is mutual aid agreement, Wheatland County and Town of Strathmore. Mr. West, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. I am very honored and proud to bring this agreement for council consideration. I do have to ask that we change the recommendation. Our logistics didn't work out quite so well, so it's just agreement as proposed right now. I was hoping to have the actual half-signed agreement for council this evening, but illness and life and a few other things got in the way. Just as a note for council, this is an opportunity for us to highlight some of the things that are in the council corporate action plan as far as partnering with the county, and part of the emergency management agreement, which is point 4 of the council corporate action plan. The agreement itself is fairly boilerplate. There isn't nothing that would stand right out and make you go, It is a solid agreement between the two municipalities and their emergency services, both fire and emergency management, to be able to work collectively together and support one another in a time of need. It does enhance the current initiatives and the roles that we play right now as far as emergency response, because we have the ability, as dispatch is further involved in the process, to be able to work from what the chief from the county said yesterday in the presentation to their council, be a customer-first centered operation, and not lines on maps and territorial concerns per se. It does intimate that there will be a standard operating procedure where we will respond together collectively on all numbered highways, and the fees for those type of responses will be on us to be billing to AT&U separately, so that we aren't billing each other, or there's no third party or administration. We just do those things collectively. When we're responding in support of one another, there would also be no fees at this point in time in this agreement. That's the current agreement that's in place right now, with a review period in a couple years to make sure that there is no one party that is seemingly carrying the freight for both parties. I'm not worried about that based on the logistics and as well as the numbers that I've seen over the last couple of years. Although it is a new situation and a new way of responding, so we made sure that we had that review period put in there so that we could come back to the table should that need to be. The highlight for this that I bring to council's attention is the Schedule A, which is the last page. Just to reiterate the point 3, where there are no charges. When we talk about charges, it's the hourly rates for the apparatus. We will bill each other for consumables because neither of us have a high degree of volume in our budgets to deal with consumables that we're expending in support of one another. What this agreement does is it provides us with more calls. More calls right now is an issue that we need to address because we have a retention challenge. Our call volume as a municipality is low, which is good, but it doesn't maintain the interests of the individuals over a long period of time. So this will assist us in some of the retention. Has significant collaboration parts to it for the two departments, and it does address several of the initiatives that I previously have brought to council's attention and/or risks and concerns that I've brought to council's attention. And the follow-on after this agreement, should council choose to accept this agreement as proposed, the next steps would be to combine our forces around dispatching so that once they're on, then our agreements are actually functioning the way the agreements are stated, and our services are working very well together at that point in time.
That's all? Okay. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you for your report. I really appreciate this, and I just had a few questions for clarification. That so when we're responding to the highways, either party can respond. That's not an issue.
That is correct. Actually, the procedure that we're proposing is that both parties would be responding to the highways anywhere, because they have limited resources in one area where we have solid resources, and they would continue to respond with their engine and the traffic control. So we're combining that response with appropriate resources, yes.
And so in 6.6, it notes the fire department which arrives on the scene first shall assume command of the scene until relieved by the authorized fire official from the fire department in whose jurisdiction the emergency arises. So if it's on the highway, then
If it's on the provincial highway, then it'll probably be the first one there.
okay.
But it'll also be driven by what the needs of the particular event is. So fire suppression, we're going with a rescue, not an engine. So the engine and the engine company would be the crew that would be primarily in charge, because that's the initial emergency.
Thank you. And my second question is with regards to the time frame for review. You said 2 years. Is there any interim reviews that will take place?
Annually, and then a formal review at 18 months, so that when this document comes up at 2 years, we'll have had all of the opportunities to inform both of the councils of what the next steps are, if should there be changes that are required.
I really appreciate the collaborative nature of this program, but I still am certainly our taxpayers have heard that there's been inequity in terms of the numbers and logistics. And I'm wondering if you can offer a little bit more detail with regards to those internal logistics and numbers.
I'll do the best I can, based on the information both that I've reviewed as well as the information that was provided to County Council. Historically, and I don't mean way back 20 years ago, I mean back in 3 or 4 years ago, there was the initial rescinding of the agreement, the fire and disaster services agreement. And because the county did not have the ability to stand up resources immediately, the town took on a role that was fairly significant, especially with our call volume being what it is. That's diminished to a point where we're talking in single numbers, the response into or out from the town to each other. So the numbers are really low, less than 10 in both directions in the last couple of years. And I don't want to be specific because I anticipate that the numbers will be going up in both directions, doing what's right.
Thank you. And my final question, I really appreciate what you said about next attacking the issue of dispatch. And I'm hopeful for that, and certainly it would fall in with other emergency response teams in our mutual communities. And realistically, we are all county people, whether we adhere to that philosophy or not. And my last question would be about what you would believe or see as the opportunity to completely combine our fire resources in the near future in a fully collaborative state.
I should turn around and smile at the camera right now. I believe it's far closer than many people anticipate. I believe it's far closer than many people want. And I believe that it's going to, significant things are going to occur before the end of this year.
Thank you, Chief West. I think this is an amazing document, and I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Sobel.
So thank you. I was, Councillor Peterson, her first two questions were ones that I had questions on myself, so thank you for the clarity on that. The third question I wasn't going to ask, but I'm sure glad you did, because it certainly is something I'm interested in. But in regards to 6.6 and the question that you responded to, and I'm only talking about clarity here, because and I don't know why I'm missing this, but I get, what you're saying is not what I'm reading here in regards to taking control of the scene. And I just want to make sure that this is a clear item, because this is saying if it's on the highway, rural would be in control, period. That's what this says.
Yes, it would.
And I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that's not what you're, but
Yeah,
that's not what you're saying.
It's dynamic. On an incident, it is a dynamic or fluid. Command can change at any point in time depending on the needs and the equipment and the resources that are brought to bear for the emergency. So command can move based on what it is that we're dealing with. And because we don't know the difference between our travel times, although if we're just talking about us, Wheatland West and ourselves, they should be fairly close. It's our muster times that might be a little bit different. But yes, arguably, because we're not just talking about west of town now, we're also talking about anywhere.
Yeah.
The county quite possibly would be in charge of a majority of the events. And all of the ones on the county roads, because we will be going to those ones as well.
Right. So are you looking to clarify 6.6?
Yeah, so specifically that clause is there for the secondary and the county roads. It's a bit of a catch-all, but it's still going to fall to the experience, the risk, and the equipment that's on scene and who is bringing it to that scene.
And I don't take issue with that at all, but that's not what this says.
Okay.
So if that's the way it's supposed to read, maybe we should make a change in that. I'm just suggesting that, because once again, I think these issues have to be clear. I think these are issues that can create problems and confusion. And at a scene, we shouldn't have confusion especially as to who's going to be in charge. So
That's correct, yeah.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel. Councillor Graychuk.
Thank you. Just to clarify in my mind, so you speak of highways that the county has first. What about in town limits? Is that specifically?
That would be us, because we have all of the resources necessary to be able to respond in town.
But do you think that should be mentioned because it says highways, or is it clear enough to everybody?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other question I got is watercraft vehicles. I may have missed it. I see equipment, but the use and the charge of them should not be specifically mentioned, and the billing out of them.
They actually specifically have left watercraft vehicles out. The county has no interest in watercraft vehicles out in the county.
So when we go to Eagle Lake, and who pays?
Strathmore.
Yes. Right now, it's Strathmore, until I can get the service bylaw back in front of you guys, and we can discuss and address that. And the individual. Well, I mean, I have seen billing to the individuals who have had their own motorcrafts damaged or lost on Eagle Lake, they've been billed directly, personally.
I'm thinking of a human factor involved there. If something happened, are we liable to, because we have a watercraft, are we responsible, or?
No, sir.
No.
The council sets the service levels for the municipality, absolutely 100% inside, and also to the degree and level that they're able to support any contiguous neighbor that might be interested in receiving a service. But there is no responsibility, liability whatsoever.
Even if we went to the scene?
If we went to the scene, yes, then we start assuming that we are a liability as far as responding based on our protocols, responding safely, and without negligence. Actually, for the fire department, it has to be without gross negligence.
I just don't know if I'm comfortable without having it more clarified.
That would be something internal for us, Councillor, that we will clarify at
A later date?
a very soon later date, sir,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, because that makes me nervous.
Yes, understood.
Yeah, and especially if we go to the river, I mean, is that the province's responsibility then, or what happens? And then we've gone there often.
Federal waterways, and actually, it's not the provinces, it's the countries, and.
I guess my talking doesn't matter, does it?
No, we're just asking.
Well,
And we have, once again, we have no obligation to go there. And, the billing would occur as best we could with what luck we may have to the individuals or to the federal government. Yes, sir. I'll just answer that question.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graychuk. Councillor Peterson.
Ready to make a motion, Your Worship. I would move that council adopt and sign the mutual aid agreement as provided. And I know that some clarity issues may be forthcoming. I trust that I'm not going to make it a part of the motion, but I will add to the motion that council adopt and sign the mutual aid agreement as provided, to be signed by Mayor L. on behalf of council and CAO James Thackeray.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Discussion, Councillor Sobel?
Well, I'm a little wary about doing that at this point, because I'm not sure what changes are going to be made in this on the county's part as well. And I want to see them before we, and I suspect there may be some changes, and I certainly have identified one change that I want to see in this document. So I certainly wholeheartely agree with this, but I think the T's got to be crossed and the I's got to be dotted here in a proper manner before I'd agree to this agreement. And the chief had mentioned that you wanted a change in the wording to make it this as proposed rather than.
Because I thought that I would
Right.
have the original agreement
Yes.
that's already executed.
Yes,
And.
And you don't.
I don't.
right.
No.
Councillor Peterson?
So am I to understand, my understanding was that the county had passed it.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that the county has passed it. So I feel completely comfortable with.
Yeah, I was not understand, I misunderstood that.
So I feel completely comfortable with the explanation that that Chief West has given us with regards to some, what I consider to be minor clarification issues, well, important, but doable in terms of what he's explained, and that's why I'm prepared to move the motion tonight. And if there, on the understanding that if it was a different agreement, then it would have to come back here.
Well, here's my issue with 6.6, and I'm not going to belabor this all that much, but changing the word to clarify 6.6, which I do not find it's very clear at this point, who is in charge of scenes. Unless we go with what is 6.6, which would mean that in any rural scene, that the county would be in charge. That's what, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm reading in 6.6. Any municipal scene, it's us in charge. Any rural one, it's the county in charge.
Once they arrive on scene.
Once they
should
arrive on scene.
Should the emergency deem that the fire apparatus, the engine, is the principal vehicle that's required for the emergency. If it's a rescue, that's what we'll be responding with. We will continue to operate and function in charge of that scene. So first on scene is going to be in charge, has to be, because there's no one else.
Yeah.
But then whoever, once the second group arrive on scene, the transfer of command may take place or not, depending on the nature of the emergency.
And I like that plan, but that's not what 6.6 says. 6.6 simply says, as soon as the fire department whose jurisdiction the incident is in, they shall assume command.
Okay.
That's not what it says for me, Your Worship. In light of the interpretation given by Chief West, it seems to me to be very clear that who's ever first on the scene controls the scene, that if it's secondary or primary highway and county is on the scene, they control it. That seems clear in this to me.
If I may, this doesn't say may assume, it says
Will assume,
whoever arrives
yeah.
on scene shall first assume command of the scene until relieved by the official from the fire department in whose jurisdiction the emergency arises. So that means if it's in the rural, it's rural, it takes over.
Yeah, yeah, and referred to in 4.1, yep, yeah.
Agreed.
But that's not what the chief is saying.
To me, it's clear.
The chief is saying that municipal can maintain control of the scene.
And if I may, just to make sure that I understand it, if the equipment that's needed is not the correct equipment, then the fire department with the correct equipment has control of the scene. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, because you have your primary emergency that needs to be addressed.
Right.
Fire is fire, rescue is rescue, and we're not going, we in town will be going with both. Outside of town, it's a shared it's planned to be a shared responsibility.
I don't want to be using this in a way to talk semantics or anything, but I think so my experience in the past has suggested that this can be a very contentious issue. It can create a lot of hard feelings, and it can create a lot of problems at the scene, and that's not where you want this stuff to happen. But I've seen it happen before because it has not been clear who has been in charge, or a department thinking that they're in charge when another is. So I mean, I'm hoping that by the end of the year, as the chief suggests, that we don't have to worry about this stuff. But it's here now, and it's in front of us, and so all somebody's going to do is pull this agreement out and say, we're in charge. I don't care if you have the equipment here. And that is, and I just don't know, we're not touching this. Because the county may have an issue with this too. So I can't vote for this. I can't with being as it's written.
So if you consider in more polite, if asked Chief West to 6.6 as a part of, per what you've said
Certainly that's what I want.
tonight with owning this. The reason that in the interest of collaboration, it is that other so
It's agree with what it's going to look like. I just don't know where this is going, what it's going to look like at the end of the.
Councillor,
Thank you, Your Worship. I have two, three. Well, 6 point. Turn straight and see a lot of happening. I would use clarified and much too. Getting crap issue. Much history has to go on. A lot. Someone being called out, but or who out talking to the
From here.
we're not
This level to
so we're over the place. I'm assuming there's a lot more in the town than there is in the town. Because they don't want. I don't think myself that's a fair way to go about it.
respectfully, Councillor, I would agree, but that's their council's decision.
Well, I guess between the watercraft issue and 6.6, I'm not sure I can support this tonight right at the moment either.
and correct me if I might get some clarification. Watercraft is not mentioned in here at all, is it? So
No, sir.
watercraft isn't mentioned in this at all,
Well,
Councillor
purpose,
Bluckman? That's going to be coming forward in regards to,
But what happens if this document goes through and 3 months from now, we get a call out from Eagle Lake, as Councillor Graychuk said, and our watercraft goes out there?
We wouldn't get a call, excuse me, through the
Go
chair,
ahead.
to the councillor, we would not get a call from the county to do that.
What happens if somebody out there drowning on a tube?
Then we would get a 911 call and we would respond based on our current service levels.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Graychuk.
Thank you. I understand that we also bought another watercraft, or somebody did.
That's correct. The Firefighters Association bought a replacement rubber-sided watercraft, that's correct. To replace the old one that they've had for many years.
In response to Councillor Sobel's, and I can see where he's coming from, but you had discussed this many times with the county and their chief and their administration several times.
Yes, sir.
And it was never brought up, that issue, obviously.
The watercraft?
No, the 6.6.
No, sir.
I'm prepared to go with it tonight. I don't see a problem with it. To me, it's clear, so I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm not got clear eyes, you know. I don't know. But I'm prepared to go with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graychuk. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Thank you very much, Chief West.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on our agenda is the summary of the Evaluations Planning and Development Workshop. Mr. Fisher, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. As council is aware, we had a planning and development workshop a couple weeks ago, and these are the responses that were received. They're included in the appendix. I think it's fair to say that the workshop was a success, well attended, and generally the responses were favorable. I'd like to turn this presentation over to Rob Roycroft at this point for comments on further steps.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Roycroft. How are you tonight, sir?
Wonderful.
Good.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. As Werner's indicated, we received good and positive feedback. There was some 21 responses from participants. Some of the comments were of a bit of a conditional nature, and the condition was that they wanted to make sure there was some action taking place. So they were very happy to be participating in that. They were very happy that the town was holding it, but they wanted to make sure that something was going to take place so that their time was not wasted. And I think that's a natural sort of feeling that all of us would have. So tonight, my role is to just bring you quickly up to date on what we've done so far and what our next steps are going to be. So we've compiled and analyzed the feedback received. We are in the final stages of confirming all of those notes. You saw all of those flip charts up on the wall. In the heat of the moment, sometimes some of the facilitators' handwriting may have deteriorated a little, and we're just making sure that we captured the clarity that we need. So each of the facilitators are going back and reviewing their notes to make sure that we do have the actual sort of statement, and we've got a good sense and understanding of what the points were that the people were making. Our next steps will be to analyze the individual comments, and we've already extracted the many positive and the suggestions for improvements. Those are going to be standing alone and providing us some guidance in the next little while. So with respect to the suggestions for improvement, we're grouping them at this time into four different sort of piles. The first are those that, while well-intentioned, are simply not doable under current legislation. And that's not unexpected given the group there. They don't have the intimate knowledge of legislation that all of us in local government do. And, make some of these suggestions that they sounded good, but, unfortunately, the law will not allow us to do that, and we just have to explain. So some of them fall there. Another set of recommendations are those that don't really fall directly within the purview of the planning and development branch, but are more appropriately addressed by council itself. So a couple of examples are recommendations related towards bringing in an extensive community economic development program, or the staffing in the fire department. Those are issues that council will be dealing with in some fashion, not the planning and development department. So we want to make sure that they're dealt with at the right level. Some of the comments that came in will go into the third batch, which are what we're calling the extremely complex and involved issues that are going to take, quite frankly, just a bit of time for us to assess and analyze and look around for best practices. So that's a group that we'll be working on later. The final set are those that we've already started to work on. We hope to start implementing some of these recommendations in the near future. Some are intended internal to the department and will likely require some bylaws and policy changes that we'll be bringing forward to council. Some of the other suggestions we've been showing Werner in the department, some examples of things like a development activity tracking spreadsheet so that at any point in time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, somebody could go onto the website and see exactly what state their application is at. And others could see it as well. It's all public information. And what we found in a lot of places is that dispels a lot of the myths that are going on out there. Oh, it's being delayed by the town. Well, in fact, actually, if you go to the spreadsheet, you can see that it's back in the hands of the applicant waiting for them to take the next steps. So that's a piece of information that I think will really be beneficial, and we've been exploring some of these options with Werner. Our hope is to start taking some of these concrete steps in the very near future, and I look forward to working with Werner, Bryce, and James to see concerted action in the next few months. And we'll certainly be keeping council abreast, and you'll be part and parcel of making these changes along the way. That's all I had to provide at this point in time.
Thank you very much. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Rycroft. I was wondering if you were, had in the document sitting before us, if you'd incorporated the comments that were also sent to you via email, if you'd had time to do that yet.
They were not in the form of an evaluation, so no, but they have been incorporated into the report itself.
Thank you. And the second thing that I was very appreciative of the coordinated process that we were able to be a part of, and to see business owners and builders and developers and people who invest their life in our community and be able to see them have a voice, and it was a privilege to be able to hear them. And having said that, and because you've done a great deal with this council with helping us with strategic planning, I'm wondering if there is a definitive way that we could identify those doable, significant outcomes and start a process where there is a council report card that when we meet with this group, as they've indicated, they would like to meet a few times a year, that there was a report card that would actually measure the outcomes that we've set in a realistic way.
Absolutely great suggestion, and it's part of my intent is to leave that framework in mind so that when the department comes forward, either with routine changes, as they're going to be, we'll refer it back to the workshop, and certainly a report to the next workshop. To start off, that's the first item on the agenda. Oh, by the way, these are the 27 suggestions we got last time. 15 of them have been taken action of, 5 we can't, 3 are still in progress. Thanks for those. Now let's get on to the next ones. Absolutely critical to reinforce the value of these things.
I really appreciate that, and I just want to make sure that this is not a report card for our staff. Our staff are only doing what the bylaws and the policies set by this council indicate, and we certainly heard that there were some issues around that.
Absolutely.
And some things that needed to be greatly improved, so I want to make sure that's known, and I really think it would help bring clarity and certainty to those people who do invest their life into our community. And I really appreciate what you did to move that along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Did you have something, Deputy Mayor?
No.
No? And if I might, I received some very positive comments from the members of the building and planning and business community that attended. Great comments, and indeed, I will reiterate the comment that was said, don't just do this and put it on the shelf. We want to make sure that it goes forward. Yeah. And I would love to see us send out a letter to those people that attended, saying, here's our next step, here's what we're doing, here's what we have done, and here's what's in the work. And I don't know what the time frame on that would be, but I would love to see that go out as soon as possible. And the other thing I would like to see, and this with council's permission, is I would love to see council send to those people that attended a thank you for their time, a letter sent out. And I would like to see us do that. So, I will take a motion if there's no further discussion.
I would move that council accept this report for information.
Thank you very much. We have a motion to accept the report for information. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, sir. Next item on the agenda is committee minutes. And I will take a motion to accept the committee minutes.
Your worship, I'd move that council accept the report for information.
Thank you very much. We have a motion to accept the reports for information. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And next item is question period for questions between councillors. Are there any questions between councillors? Councillor Sobel.
Between councillors, but apparently this is the only area that I can provide some information in regards to upcoming events, your worship, so.
At this point, that's going to change, though.
I know that.
Okay.
So there's two events that are forthcoming that I'd like to bring to council's attention and to, through them, to our ratepayers. The first one is going to take place on May the 9th, Tuesday, 2017, from 5:30 to 8 p.m., and this will be held at the Legion. And this is going to be hosted by our downtown review committee. and with the, it's a 3-hour, 2.5-hour session, I guess, entitled "Do We Need a Downtown?" And probably just read from the poster. Come talk with your neighbors and help us shape the future of downtown in Strathmore. This forum is to share information about the value of a vibrant downtown and learn from those who have benefited from downtown revitalization. We have three speakers lined up: Kent Rupert, Angela Gronveld, and Anne-Marie Hansen. I think they all will bring a unique and interesting outlook towards downtown revitalization and the importance of having a strong and viable downtown. And we'll also have our planning section department, rather, reviewing the downtown upgrades that are planned for Canada's 150th anniversary. So it's going to be a very interesting session, and I would certainly invite anyone and everyone to attend. Once again, it's Tuesday, May the 9th, 2017, between 5:30 and 8 p.m. at the Legion. For the second year, I'm partnering with the Youth Club on May 13th, which is a Saturday, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the parking lot right in front of our building here. We're going to try to gather some donations for the food bank under the heading of "Fill the Bus." The youth bus will be here. We're going to try to fill it up as we did last year, and then bring it down to the food bank. I can assure you from my discussions with them that they're in once again, the Christmas season is over, and they find themselves in need of supplies. So we're going to try to fill that need. This goes from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Rumor has it that there's some bakery downtown by the name of Rocky's will be supplying some amazing donuts. In the words of Mr. Trump, they're amazing. And there'll be some coffee there too. So I invite everybody to stop by, help us support a great cause. And that's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. I was just updating my calendar. Thank you for bringing that information to my attention. Councillor Graychuck.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one inquiry I have. I had an inquiry under 13.1, I believe. Was that forgotten or mentioned? I missed it if it was. Is it in there?
Your Worship, sorry, administrative inquiries is next up on the agenda.
Yeah, but it's in there. I didn't hear it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Nothing further in regards to questions between council? Nothing? Good. Next item on our agenda is administrative inquiries and 13.1, and I will turn the floor over to Ms. Swatsky. Okay, I will turn it over to Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is a response to administrative inquiry regarding the abandoned water line at the A grounds, and can we use that to water the ball diamonds? The water line in question, we believe, is the old transmission line from the old water treatment plant up in the Lakewood area. The plant has been decommissioned for several years now, and the line has deteriorated beyond the point of repair. We don't think that's a viable option to use that line. Also, the pump station was discussed on Thomas Drive as a possible point of pumping. That has not been maintained, as the residential irrigation system has not been utilized for many, many years. That would need significant improvements and repairs in order to make that work. And the last comment on here was a comment about watering the A grounds ball diamonds. Currently, Public Works or Operations, we do not care for the A ground ball diamonds. We do not care for maintenance or improvements to that facility. And those were the comments based on the questions asked.
Thank you very much. Councillor Graychuck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had brought that forward, but thanks to Councillor Sobel. I'm still, what the whole objective is trying to save water, and I'm sure everybody was aware of that. But you say that the water line isn't any good. I mean, to what degree do you mean that? And secondly, my thoughts was that you could run another pipe, Cortland pipe inside the big pipe and then run it up to Ball Diamonds so that we could water the diamonds. I mean, that's the heavy use there. And I mean, I ran the organization for quite some time. And I know that's where the heavy use of water is. If not that sort of method, is there a way of running a Cortland pipe from the canal across, the canal is pretty close, and then up under the culverts and up through to the diamonds? I mean, we got to try and save water is what I'm getting at. And why you put potable water on the diamonds? I mean, it just, to me, is ridiculous.
Okay. I'll do my best to catch all those points for you, and if I miss some, please just remind me. The transmission line, once a water line is abandoned and there's no longer pressure in that line, the line deteriorates at a rapid rate and then collapses. There will be no opportunity to use that as a casing to slide a new line through. That line, we can confirm that line is no longer there. The second point of where can we transfer water, currently the town of Strathmore has a water license with Alberta Environment that allows us to take water out of certain locations in the town along the canal system. It would be a matter of just confirming and or amending that agreement in order to find a location that would be suitable for something of this nature. And as far as conserving water, water from the canal is diverted from the same location as our potable water. Use of potable water on baseball diamonds or of that nature doesn't necessarily conserve water. It just changes the type of water that we spray. Both amounts of water would be diverted from the same location. One has just been treated and chlorine has been added. The other one has been diverted into a canal that runs through our town. We can look at possibilities of conserving water in our own irrigation systems and on our own fields. We would hesitate to instruct the Ag Society on how to maintain their baseball diamonds.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not asking that we're telling them what to do, but we could negotiate something with them. And when I was there, they were very much in favor of having a different system rather than using potable water. But it seems to me it's more logical to use canal water as opposed to treated water, which is or potable water as opposed to. I mean, it's very expensive, that water. It comes from Calgary. There's a lot of maintenance, so on and so forth. Here we're just sucking it out of the canal with a pump and away you go. I know I'm making it sound simplistic, but you got engineers that could figure that out in a minute. I'm just saying that there's got to be a way. Could you look into it? Is what I'm asking.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graychuk. Nothing further?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda, Ms. Sawatsky.
Your Worship, Councillor Peterson brought a administrative inquiry forward, saying that the seniors have asked Town Council to consider the advisability of moving the electronic sign at the edge of town into town, and wondering if Council was amenable to discussing this matter at a future date. We're coming back just with some information for Council. Council has already budgeted funds in 2017 for a new town electronic sign. The IT department has been busy obtaining quotes for a new sign, and they've received one. We'd like to bring this matter forward back to Council at the June 14th Committee of the Whole meeting so that we can discuss possible locations and funding for moving the sign.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sawatsky. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you for this, Jen. I really appreciate it. And Councillor Graychuk brought up a good point around this when we were discussing it relevant to the Seniors Advisory Council, and that was that sometimes moving a sign can be more expensive than actually buying a new one. So you'll bring that information back as part of that?
Yes, that was the intent.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda, oh, pardon me, Councillor Graychuk, sorry.
I have an apology to make, Your Worship. Thank you very much for the work that's already been done. I very much appreciate it, Bryce. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is Town of Strathmore newspaper advertising. Ms. Watsky.
Your Worship, response to an inquiry by Councillor Peterson asking if the Seniors Advisory Committee would be able to use the town newspaper page to communicate important events relevant to the community's senior citizens. Our response is that absolutely, any town committee, town department can advertise on the town newspaper page. We've also provided information informing council that we have had requests from outside organizations, committees, requesting to use our page. Our page is quite a busy spot. Lots of times we turn away departments, our own department's information, depending on what takes priority. We're suggesting to council that this also come back to a committee of the whole meeting, should council want to provide that kind of advertising to outside community groups, in considering the additional costs that may come forward with that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was wondering, Jennifer, if we could also put this down for June the 14th. So, and if the two items could come together to a committee of the whole. I just want to say that the work being done by the Seniors Advisory Committee is gaining momentum, and I'm very gratified to see the work that's being done on the part of seniors in this community, because there are many of us. And one of the other things that I think may be useful, they presented a calendar at the last Seniors Advisory Committee meeting. I noted between May the 1st and May 31st, they had 23 activities of interest to seniors on 18 separate days. So I certainly know that you're not going to be able to include them on the town's page. So my recommendation to the Seniors Advisory Council is going to be to highlight them in some priority, and maybe ask that their calendar page be allowed to be put on the town's webpage. And of course, their reasoning for wanting something in the paper is that several seniors have indicated that while they are avid readers of the town's newspapers, not so much online. So if we could look into that and bring them back, I'll pass on your messages. I'll be very glad to hear that, and thanks for your work on it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Graychuk?
Thank you, Your Worship. These requests, and I know that there's a lot of them inside of town, but is there requests from outside of the community too?
Occasionally, we do receive some requests from outside of the community. As indicated, we do try and advertise on our Facebook page and our website, things that are for the community. But as indicated also, we don't have room on our current town newspaper page to advertise for those.
Do you know if
groups.
other communities charge to put on there? Because I'm like Mr. Wonderful. I want to make some money for the town.
I'm not aware, but I can definitely look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sawatsky. Next item on our agenda is Sustainability Committee Water Conservation. Mr. McCann.
Hello, thank you again.
You have the floor.
The Mayor and Council. There were a few questions brought forward. I hope in this case Councillor Sobel brought this one forward. No? Your name's on it. So there were a few questions in the inquiry that we tried to answer fairly briefly. The town currently uses potable water to fill our water truck and use that to water gardens, trees in locations throughout the town. We do not pay a flat fee as suggested in the to the WID for access to our canal water. We currently have a license to divert water out of the canal. We do not currently pay them to divert anything. The only payment would occur, I would assume, when we actually do convey water. And administration is supportive of conserving water where possible and will investigate opportunities regarding usage and filling of the water truck.
Councillor Sobel?
Well, so first of all, I just want to be clarify here. I know which question this is, but we're talking about the water truck that goes around watering our flowers and trees.
Correct.
Not talking about the water trailer.
Not the water
All right.
trailer.
All right, I
We were
didn't-
very specific to say truck.
Right on. So so this just seems a little evasive in regards to what's going to happen in the future. Is there a plan in place, do you know, that would see our water truck being filled with canal water to water rather than with potable water?
Through the chair to Councillor Sobel, that is, part of the investigation will be determine the method to do so.
Okay.
According to our water license, we have to meter any water that we pull from the canal. So we would have to meter that water, report on it monthly to Alberta Environment, and then it would be a determination to see what the savings between potable water and canal water would be based on rates and based on making the necessary adjustments to get water out of the canal.
So this is still a work in progress?
Correct.
All right, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. Councillor Graychuk.
Thank you. Sorry for being such a pain, but anyway, we have 2,000 acre feet left, I believe, do we not, with the contract?
I can't comment on acre feet. We have approximately 180,000 cubic meters that in our water license to draw from the canal.
Which is a lot of water. There'd be a lot of trucks. I mean, how much does that truck hold, that one truck per unit, 2,000 gallons?
I would have to be, I would guess, but I would guess, 4 or 5 cubes.
Yeah.
It's a small truck. It's on the back of a flat deck, a plastic
Yeah, I've
water
seen it running
tank.
around, but anyway. So, I mean, couldn't you, do you have to have a meter? Couldn't you just count the amount of loads? I mean, let's not make this complicated.
That would be a discussion I'd have to have with Alberta Environment. According to the license, any water that we pull out of the canal must be metered.
And does this tie into my other request with the EPCOR, with them disposing of every time they light up a hydrant, they push out thousands of gallons of water onto the street? And I asked them to check in, and they said, no, they couldn't do it, but there's got to be a way to use that water. I know it's complicated again, and sometimes too expensive to do it that way, but maybe, have you looked into that further?
That previous request regarding the flushing of hydrants and capturing the water so that it didn't just flow down the storm drains, I believe was the original concern. We did investigate that and have EPCOR come back to us. Their initial response was that no communities that they work in currently have a method of doing so, but we did not take that off the table of a possibility in the future or trying to determine a method to capture that water.
Thank you. And again, thank you for all your work.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCann. Appreciate the information.
Thank you.
And we have downtown weed control. Mr. McCann, you have the floor.
Thank you. Through the chair to the councillors. Councillor Sobel this time, for sure. The comment was brought forward regarding concerns about weed control and downtown weed control and what the town could do. A recommendation or a suggestion of perhaps providing business owners with some method to control weeds outside their business. Right now, we're just providing a bit of information to council. So far in our investigation, we wanted to update council that as per the community standards bylaw, property owners are of course responsible for weeds and control on their properties and adjacent to their properties. We are not recommending supplying any kind of weed control project to owners for health and safety liability purposes. We don't believe that it would be a good practice to do so. We are considering an implementation of a program to promote awareness and educate property owners on their responsibilities under the community standards bylaw, and potentially working with our park supervisor to maybe even provide possible suggestions of ways to control weeds on your own property. But that's stuff that those are items that we're just looking into right now.
Councillor Sobel?
Thank you for that. That was raised as an item from our DDRC, our Downtown Design Review Committee, so I'll pass that on, and I appreciate that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your information.
Thank you all.
And we have, Ms. Swatsky, go ahead.
Your worship, we have one new inquiry. Under admin
Is it a
inquiries.
report or is it,
No, it's a new inquiry.
okay. So are you recommending that we accept all of these reports now for information purposes and then you can
If
give-
council so chooses, yes.
Okay. I'll take a motion to accept all of the reports for information. We have a motion to accept all reports for information. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ms. Swatsky, you have a new one.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. There's an administrative inquiry from Councillor Graychuck in regards to the Strathmore handy bus. The inquiry reads, can we conduct an investigation into operating the handy bus on evenings and weekends? And can the information come back to the committee of the whole meeting in June?
No one wishes to discuss it? Do we need a motion? Just you've got the administrative inquiry and we just leave it at that? Okay, good. Thank you. All righty?
Do you need a motion, Your Worship, or no?
No, no.
Thank you.
I was just checking to make sure, so, and no. And so that's all of the items on our public council meeting. I'll take a motion to go in camera.
So move.
We have a motion to go in camera pertaining to matters under Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy under sections 23, 16, 24, and 19. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate your attendance.